All right, y'all. It's the time of the day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the crew. We are back with another show, whether you're listening on WHOV, if you're checking us out on Instagram, YouTube, podcast, however you're checking us out, we're glad that you are with us today. We got to give a shout out to those who are in the crew today. Now, listen, y'all, we got to start with Tony Tom, also known as Anton Bell, Commonwealth attorney. Now, you know, on his day job, you know, he do a lot for people on the day job, and so on the show though he's kind of aggressive.
On the show, I am being authentic.
Yes. Which might also be aggressive.
and he has coined a phrase on this show. Okay. What's the phrase you've coined?
I will shank you.
Oh my gosh.
And so I guess people have been listening to the fact that you shank people.
That I shank people.
And so
don't mind
metaphorically.
You. So
exactly.
Metaphorically.
He will use the law to make it clear he ain't playing.
And his words and his pen.
Absolutely.
All of that.
All of that. Yes.
So if you're listening, you can't really appreciate what's about to happen. But for those of you who are watching, can you show your shirt, please, sir? Can you tell us what happened to this?
So literally, on Friday, a viewer came to my office and dropped off a present. And the present was this T-shirt that says, I will shake you, because she was listening to me on, I don't know which platform it was, but whether it was radio or podcast. That's why you guys got to look at us on
really
podcast, because really it takes it to another level. Because you see things that you can't see listening on the radio. So go to YouTube and all the other various platforms that we have, and you have to look at us, because I have this T-shirt on because a viewer came up to my job and she dropped it off, and she said, I needed you to have this because you said you shake people, and I know you do. She knows me. It's Margaret Wilson, for the way. So shout out to Miss Margaret. But she said, hey, Miss Margaret. So she was like, I need you to wear it. So she went out and had this T-shirt made for me to wear.
When you know folks
and I told her I was going to wear it on the show just for her.
So you going to start a brand called I Will
Shank You. Okay. We talk about multiple streams of income all the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? Why not? I will shank you. Because guess what?
Not?
Why
Can
not?
we start with a couple of the reasons?
No. Because can I say this? People need to understand kindness is real. And when you step out of line with your foolishness and your drama, you need to get shanked. You need to get set back in your place. That's all shanking does. And you're just setting people back into their place, sharing with them why it is not a good idea to come my way.
Old Testament time.
I just don't know.
Old Testament time.
I just don't know how I feel about my Commonwealth attorney. In the city of where I live.
When people
wearing an I Will Shank You shirt.
When people commit crime, they need to know you're going to get shanked by the law.
Okay. All right.
You're going to get shanked.
All right.
And he is not
put you back into your place. There shall be some accountability for you.
Okay. All right.
I believe in jail ministry.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
He sure does.
All right.
Miss Al, how are you? I got to move on from you. I can't take no more of you. And this is just the intro. I can't even take no more of you today.
Listen, how can you not be good? Okay, how can you not be good? I know, we all play around, but I don't know if y'all know out there in listening world just really how close we are. There's nothing like being with people that know you, see you, the whole you, and still love you. So many of us are running around with our masks and our this, that, and the other, and it's pressure. And there are traumas that come with that. Of course, as the doctor, I'm going to talk about the traumas. But I mean, when you can't just be you and be accepted, that is a hard life to live. Yeah. And I am doing great because I'm with people I know love me. and they will call me out on my stuff if necessary. All right, because that's love too. You heard Anton say he will shank you. That happens when we're not on air too. Okay,
come on.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Everybody calls each other out on their stuff around here, and know that it's coming from a good place. But you will get shanked.
Yeah. See, you right. You right.
He grabbed his side.
You right.
He grabbed his side right there.
I feel a spear coming in my side. See, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You all right? That's what he said. Shout out to Ray. He's not with us today, but we keep him in the prayers. But look, before we go to break, we got to give a shout out to our producer extraordinaire,
100%.
Jason Covington.
Hey, Jason.
And the main reason why is because this past week he turned a milestone birthday, y'all. He has left the 30s and now he is in the 40s.
Welcome.
So we want to wish him a happy birthday from the crew today. We appreciate you, man.
Happy birthday, Jay.
Yeah.
We love you, baby.
You getting old now. Aches and pains gonna start hitting you, man.
Welcome to R4s, okay?
Yeah. We're gonna take a break here and get into the show. Hope you're enjoying the crew. Welcome back to the crew. Ton, you like the young people, man, because you don't read the paper. You get all your news from
Social
Twitter
media.
and X.
Twitter.
Black Twitter.
Black Twitter. I love Black Twitter. Black Twitter keeps it real. Now, sometimes it can be a little ratchet, so you got to be careful. But it keeps it extremely real, and you know what's going on in this world, and particularly in culture.
Right. So when we do topic shows, you always bring something up, and usually it's because you got it from X or Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you found a topic that we had to talk about.
Yes.
That's just crazy, but it speaks to the times that we're living in. Unfortunately. But it's what we're dealing with.
It is what it is.
Talk about it, man.
So we all have been to high school or little league games, and we've seen parents be play coaches on the sidelines, try to coach their kid as the coach is trying to coach their kids. We've also seen parents from opposing teams go at it, and we've also seen parents on the same team
Go at it.
And I'm talking about fighting, y'all, real deal fighting.
Yeah.
So recently in the news, there was a St. Louis coach who is coaching a team of 8 to 10-year-olds. And he had a teammate, or not a teammate, but one of his players' father shot him multiple times because up to that point, there had been some discussions, some verbal arguments and so forth concerning his son allegedly not getting enough play time. And so that was what was initially reported. The arguments were over his son not getting enough playtime. Now, we all know typically with many of the little leagues and the younger players, they have a philosophy of we want them to have fun. And we want every player to play a certain amount of time. Well, if you have what you consider to be a standout player as a child, sometimes you may feel like, why are you putting in this scrub? And I'm just saying with the player that the dad may be thinking, y'all, I'm not calling your child a scrub. So I'm just saying. Authenticity. Okay. I'm just saying. All right, but they saying it. Or at least I would say it probably. Okay. They calling the kid a scrub. Say, why you putting that scrub in and my kid can really, really play? You need to put the best players in because we want to win. We want to win. In the culture now is everybody get a trophy. Back when we were growing up, only the winner got a trophy.
The actual
winner got a trophy. But we believe everybody winners now. So dad got upset. There was some beef going on. Now, it's come out that there's some now multiple sides to this, because initially when the story came out on CNN and Twitter and all that, they were saying that the guy just came up to the father, shot him multiple times, and there were not players but other parents who shielded the father as he's on the ground so that the guy couldn't shoot him anymore.
So let's put this in context. This all took place at a game.
In front of the kids.
In front of the kids.
In front of his son.
So this is not even like a side situation like between the parents later on when nobody's around.
No.
This is after a game.
I don't even know if it's after the game. It could have been during the game. So I don't know. I didn't get that part.
And these kids are 8 to 10 years old.
8 to 10 years old.
Traumatized.
And this happened in St. Louis.
Completely.
So if you Google it, you can see the details and maybe the updates of it. But 8 to 10 year olds in front of players, in front of other parents, in front of spectators, broad daylight. This guy shot him multiple times, and then he ran off. He eventually turned himself in. And so before he ran out, he allegedly was heard saying, "I told you I was going to pop you." And then he ran off.
What's going on with our parents?
I told you they trifling. I've been telling you that for weeks. I've been telling you that for weeks. We got some parents out there who should not be parents.
But it seems. Go ahead, Sid.
No, I was just gonna say it's more that is more than just not being a parent, right? And I know, we always talk about personal responsibility and everything, but I just also, right, this isn't a new issue, because I remember, my parents' age, saying, yeah, my father used to be real intense at games and stuff too. But we gotta talk about the prevalence of guns, so that every time somebody has a disagreement, the gun is available. So you don't have the fist fights anymore. Right. This is now how people are handling even minor disagreements. And
gives you carriage.
That's what I'm saying.
Gun gives you carriage.
And like, I know we're going to get to a lot of layers, but that's just the first thing that comes out. People have gotten mad since people have existed. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But now we're at the point where I'm mad, grab a gun, take it out on the person.
You're so right, Cassia. My brother used to always say, because when we, growing up in the hood, he said, look, you don't need to have a gun. Because he said, if you have a gun, you're going to have to use it eventually. Yep. And he said, if you use it, you got to kill him. Yeah. Because if you don't kill him, he's coming back, or his friends are coming back. Yeah, so you got to make so it's a cycle. So growing up, he was like, no, you stay away from guns. That's not who you are anyway. You just don't need to be in that environment. So that's the mindset of this culture. They feel like, many of them, I have to be carrying, because if I'm not, I don't know who's carrying. And then you got a parent now. What are you teaching that son?
This is what I want to talk about.
Or any of the children.
Because it cannot be.
All saw it.
They're 8 to 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
And they might have had little siblings there too.
Listen, and this is what happens at these games. It's something that's happened in our culture. Alvin, you work with family. I don't know what it is, but it seems like at sporting events now, it has just reached a different level, like of crazy, when it comes to parents and expectations, and like, my kid got to play. And what you didn't say was that the coach gave everybody equal playing time.
He did.
Right.
So what you mad at? He wanted more. He thought his son was a standout and he should be getting more time.
But the rule of the team is, and you knew that before the season started, everybody's going to play the same number of minutes. Well, so what you mad at?
Well, apparently this guy was like the former coach of this team.
Okay.
And so
layers.
So there's layers. Yeah. So apparently he thought maybe this guy wasn't doing as good of a job as he had done. And so you have that piece of it. And then recently he has now come out saying it was self-defense, and that the coach had approached him, and there was some verbal arguments that he was telling the coach, leave me alone. And eventually he just shot him. But I don't think that's the case. It doesn't match up. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. What I believe is going on is you're going to always have his boys that are there who will say whatever they want to say concerning the matter. And even if it's a verbal argument, guess what? Your self-defense has to be reasonable.
Right.
And so you can't use a firearm. For those who are listening, I'm gonna drop some law on you. You can't just use a firearm because someone gets in your face. And there has to be a reasonable apprehension of serious bodily injury or death for you to be able to use deadly force.
Yep.
And so if you're going to use deadly force, just understand that otherwise you can get locked up.
Yeah.
But to the point, did this guy even think about his child? I am shooting the coach in front of my child, in front of other people's kids, and in front of it. Are we at that place now where we are so caught up in my kid playing that I can't have rational thought about the implications of what I'm about to do, because you're saying this happened at a game in front of everybody
in broad daylight?
And the truth of the matter is, if you go on a Saturday morning and watch Little League football, you watch basketball, you got the same kind of crazy going on.
You sure do.
Soccer.
It's crazy.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So Al, help us, please. You work with, what's going on?
One of my first questions before I get to my thought about it is, how old? Do we know how old the parents were involved in the situation?
So the father was in his, he was 43. He was 43. His name is Derek
Who did
Clemens.
the shooting?
The one that did the shooting
Was 43.
He was 43, and the coach was
whole
30.
grown up. An entire grown up. So
That's how old I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's
I
happening?
definitely assume you were gonna say 20 something.
No. These are all the way
these
grown
tail
ups.
This is what's happening at these games.
As
Yeah.
grandma said, these grown tail people.
Okay.
Grown.
Grown.
Been grown for a
A
minute.
long time now.
Oh, yeah.
A long time now.
Oh yeah, and when you look at his photo, his mugshot. Now I know your mugshot shouldn't be pretty, but I'm just saying. When you look, I'm sorry.
Where
when
you going?
when I saw the mugshot, I said they can do
Okay.
you justice, bro.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, he looked beat down. I'm sorry, he just did.
So you think he had a hard life? That's how he got to this point?
He just looked like life wasn't pretty for him. I'm just saying. That's the best way I'm gonna put it. That's the best way I'm gonna put it.
All the way grown ups. And
All
you're
the
right.
way.
Your age and 2 seconds younger than me. Okay. We're not talking about these individuals who had 12-year-old parents, and they haven't even come into their full adulthood in the decision making. These are people as grown as we are, making decisions that we would anticipate a misguided 16-year-old or 18-year-old making.
Yeah.
And you're 43 years old.
Yeah.
And you shot somebody younger than you also on top of that. He's only 30. So when you ask the question, Kev, about what's going on, we have a couple of factors. I mean, obviously, there's unequivocally some issue in terms of mental wellness, right? Now, I'm careful about the fact that we want to put the mental illness, banner on everybody. Now it's an excuse and everybody's got a diagnosis. I have an issue with that. What I would say, though, is if you're going to say some of these shooters in other scenarios have mental illness, then we don't get to pick and choose who we want to apply mental illness and lone wolf and socially maladjusted. We're picking and choosing where we want to apply those more graceful and gracious titles. If it's criminal, it's criminal.
Right.
If you have a diagnosis that's unequivocal, then you have a diagnosis that's unequivocal. But let's just make sure that we don't, we're not out here calling wolf, and now nobody with legit mental illness gets the support, accommodations, and, appropriate compassion that they deserve for things that they cannot control. A lot of this mess is just terrible decision making, right? So then on top of that, with the advent of social media, which I say over and over again, I think is one of the worst things that have happened to us. Okay. I love what social media could have been. I hate what it has become. And it has so warped our concept of what it means to be our brother's keeper, what it means to be connected. We've gone so virtual that we are so distant that life doesn't matter in the same kind of way that it used to, because we treat it as if we're playing a game of, Call of Duty, and you can just click reset and everybody's back to life again. This is not Call of Duty. The other thing that has happened too is that because we have become an anti-academic, anti-skill community, we are now looking for our children to be our retirement plans.
Yes.
And when you're using your child as your retirement plan, then it matters that he's not the standout, because you're already looking for the 8-year-old who's going to be the 18-year-old who's going to get picked up by some NBA or NFL group so that you can live off of your kid. So now his playtime matters different, because you're talking about my 401k. Right? Because that K now is kid. All right. Like, it's no longer about a normal investment and retirement plan. It's that I'm going to put the pressure on my child to be responsible for what I didn't take care of as an adult. And that in itself has its own traumas. So we have a multiplicity of things that are taking place at the same time. And when you worship wealth, and when you worship fame, and when you worship notoriety, and when you worship all of these things, that we're chasing everything and catching nothing, we ultimately destroy ourselves. And the Bible says to us very clearly that it is for lack of knowledge that my people perish. And we are so in love with, and I'm going to take this just slightly to politics for a second. We are so in love with stupidity at this point that we don't mind voting for it.
Come on.
We don't mind backing it.
Come on.
We are like raccoons with our trash. We will defend it even in the face of clear facts. We do not care anymore, because the minute we decided that we can use alternative facts, and I'm not saying that to be political in a particular side. I'm just saying that the minute that word, that phraseology became acceptable as reasoning for things, we decided at that moment we are post-truth, we are post-fact, and however I feel can be God now. And so we're watching this pendulum swing in every area, whether it's politics, socially, economically, the list goes on. And then at the core of it, at our foundation, in our families, we are not even paying attention to what really matters anymore, because the facts don't matter. The red flags don't matter. We treat a dozen red flags as if there are a dozen roses now. That is not the same thing, honey. Those red flags would need to be addressed, but instead we embrace them. And we are such wound worshipers that whatever problem we have, we hold it close to us. We're not interested in healing it. We want to make ourselves famous because of it now. And all of that is destruction. Every single layer.
Can I tell you the scary part about that, though? The scary part of what you just said, particularly about creating your own God based upon your narrative. It happens in the church.
Oh, yeah.
That's the scary part.
We're guilty, too. There's not an area.
We are very guilty of that.
Yeah.
And the scary part is you act like there is no God who's watching what you're doing, and that at some point it's going to remove his hand of protection from you and leave you to your own devices.
But if I'm living in culture all week, you can't expect me to all of a sudden be concerned about God for 2 hours.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't work that way.
I'm sorry. You can live in culture all you want to live in, because I'm letting you know that. We know that, but guess what? If you are a believer, the Bible says a believer
but just because
should have the Spirit of God in them.
They should.
And so if they have the Spirit of God in them, there should be some level. It may not be much, but there should be some level of conviction, some level of, this is wrong, and that there may be some consequences down the road.
But what if the conflict is that since you were a baby Christian, you've been raised by a pastor that fits the same description of that wound warrior that Alvian just described?
I would say you are an adult now.
No. I get it.
Okay.
But it seems like you would have some conflict of whatever you're feeling inside. You may not be able to name it because everything that you've been looking at, from social media to the news to culture, is now in the pulpit.
I get it.
Yeah.
Not just that, but if I'm again a baby Christian and I am swallowed in a culture that does not support how I'm supposed to live and it embraces everything that I shouldn't do, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah.
Right? Because for 2 hours, you can't I mean, I got to still go home after that 2 hours, right?
No, I get that.
But let me come back to you for 1 second, Al, because I want to talk about what you said, which is spot on about the 401k plan.
Yep.
That a lot of parents have.
Yep.
Especially, I believe, in hoods who think that this is the only way out.
100%.
So what people don't realize is the expense that comes with actually funding your kid to play.
For sure.
Right? So, our kids, my daughter did dance, son did basketball. So for basketball, for example, you had to pay, like, let's take AAU, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So AAU starts at 8 years old, right? And if they travel, it's $400 just to play on the team, right? But then you got to raise money to travel. Then you have to actually pay to get into the game to see your kid play. Like, AAU is a racket, right? And so it is a straight racket. And for anybody that does not have a uber talented kid,
Right.
you're getting taken advantage of.
You're fleeced.
Right? But people believe that I got to play AAU because that gives my kid exposure, so that hopefully a coach will see them, so that hopefully they can get a scholarship. This is how all this is working, right? So in my mind, as a young person, that's what they're seeing, right? But they see all this money that it takes to let my kid play, and I ain't got that kind of money, right? And so you telling me I got to pay all these fees and my child don't play, and I got to pay all these fees, and now my child got to travel, and they ain't playing.
But that wasn't the case.
I know that in this situation. But that's where this is headed. Right? That's where it's headed, Tom.
It might be headed there, but in many of those cases, Kev, that's not the case.
This is where it's starting, though, Tom.
It might be starting there. I get that.
Every parent believes their child is going to get a scholarship.
You know what? Well, then, can I talk to you, parents? Let me look at the camera and let you know that it is typically, what is it, 1 to 3%?
It is
less than that.
Less than that, right? So you're talking about 1% that's going to be the ones that's going to get the scholarship and it's going to go pro. And so you are not going to get a scholarship. You are not going pro. 1%. That's it. And so unless your kid is, like you said, extremely gifted, you're not going to be in that number. So you need to have a backup plan.
There's no backup plan for people who live in the hood, Tom. This is the plan.
So can I just tell you this? That's why many of them come to see me.
That's exactly right.
Because you did not prepare your child for life. You didn't position your child for success. What you did is you gave them a dream and a hope that was not realistic based upon their skill set.
And I'm asking you, if I live here and I haven't seen a way out for myself, right or wrong, I wasn't presented with any other options. This is my life. And I have a kid. What do you think I'm going to teach my kid? Right? How do I show them another way if I didn't see a way out myself?
You know what's free? You know what's real free? Showing up at school.
Education.
Going to a PTA meeting.
I'm with you.
Come on. Please,
I'm with you. I just want to voice
That's exactly where I was going.
You don't have to pay any entry fees to show up at the school and make sure that your child can read on reading level. To make sure that your child is doing what they can in order to get a scholarship, whether it's to the apprentice school for welding or whether it's to college, wherever their child is. But we can't pay parents to show up in the school, but they doling out all these thousands of dollars for their kid that apparently Tom thinks is a scrub.
So I'm going to take your mic and drop your mic for you.
Hold on.
That's a drop the mic moment.
So let me play the other side, because you're 100% right.
Okay, what's the other side of that?
The other side is, I'm talking about the mindset of people who live in the hood. How many people in the hood do you know got an academic scholarship?
A lot. No. Hold on.
Huh? How many?
Right here.
One of how many?
No.
You one of how many, Tar?
I'm one of how many was in my home.
Right.
Because it starts in the home.
I agree with that.
And so if you are not teaching your kids in the home that you have options, everything is not about sports. I was not good at sports.
I agree.
I ran track, but I was not a sports person, okay? Yeah, I know. Whatever.
That's why you shaking people.
That's why I shake people.
Yeah.
Now, I knew how to do some
You know how
other
to
things,
shame.
but guess what?
Lord.
But nonetheless, I digress. But I had a mom that said, here's a book, and she put the book in my hand and said, you can go anywhere you want to go. You
And
can be anywhere,
anything you want to be.
anything you want to
Yep.
be. She said, there are no limits to your growth
Time
and
out.
your potential.
Time out. Because academics in the black community is not always valued that way.
Academics in the black community is shunned upon them many times.
Right, because what we
That's the
value
problem.
is athletics and entertainment.
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
That's the problem.
So, and we think that those are the only two
And we're speaking
ways.
generally too, by the way.
But
generally.
Yes.
I was going to say, I think we're also speaking generally and generationally.
Yes.
I have met some of these students that are in the same hoods that we're talking about, but are being raised by their grandmamas,
And
and
that's
they are
different.
in school,
They're
and they are
different.
reading,
That's different.
and they are like, what
Yes.
can I do for extra
Yes.
work? Because
Yes.
I want to be a lawyer. I want to be this.
on.
And these are the ones that we're meeting
That's
in
good.
our programs
Good
and stuff.
But these ain't
So
the
I-
ones at the games.
No, but I'm
That's
just
what-
saying. But there is a stark difference between somebody whose grandma's raising them,
That
and
is
I mean
a
like
fact.
a grandma.
No,
like,
that
like
is
a,
an
like a real
absolute
grandma,
fact.
right?
You talking facts.
No, that is an
And
absolute
then,
fact.
Then I'm seeing some of the kids that are like my age. They have kids.
Yep.
They're like. They were not read
That's
to as a
different.
child.
That's
you know what I'm
different.
saying?
And they shooting
it starts
coaches.
right, and it starts when they're in the womb,
Yeah.
right? If you're not
Yeah.
reading to your child when they're in the room, your child might be already behind. There are students that are starting kindergarten behind. My mom was a pre-K teacher. They are starting kindergarten behind and never catch up on that trajectory.
But they're gonna be on the football team, and
But
they're gonna have.
apparently,
And
but
they're gonna
apparently
have.
they're not good.
No, no. Whether they're good or
Some of
not,
them.
whether they can read or not, they're gonna be on the football team. The parents are gonna show up on the weekends for the games, and I want to see my kid play.
Mm-hmm.
And if my kid can't play, I'm gonna have a problem. I don't care if they can read or not.
Mm-hmm.
So help me understand this, because that's what's happening.
That's what's
That's
happening.
crazy, Kat.
What's happening here? That's
crazy.
right?
But see,
I don't see academics as a way out.
But that's what I was talking about in terms of this generation, because what C is talking about is our generation, because C and I are just a couple of years apart from each other. Inside of this generation, this is the social media generation. This is where we made that transition, and the way in which our generation, unfortunately, has raised our kids. And I am not saying that that I did a perfect job with mine either. They have skills and they can read and they can do good things, right? Like, but I'm still waiting for, okay. So, but our generation spent more time focused on ourselves than we did on our kids. Honestly, I think that we were a more selfish generation. Many of us were still working through our stuff and decided to be parents inside of that process. And while there's no perfect way to be able to, you get perfect first before you become a parent, there's no perfect way to do that. There are ways that are better than others, while there are no perfect ones, right? And so then you have some of us, because I started young, as you guys know. So my kids are grown because we got married super young and started super young. And so you even have a generation in their 20s and 30s that have kids that are about that age already at the 5 to 8 year old range. Mm-hmm. So you've got two generations that are under 50 in many families at this point. And C is 100% right. The older generation who saw education as the great equalizer, that generation is actually taking on the children of the failed generations in between. Yeah. And those children are exactly who you're talking about, because they are learning something different. This morning, as a matter of fact, I was reading an article because I wake up before Jesus wakes up, okay? And so I was reading an article in the dark, trying not to wake Matt up, okay? And so Warren Buffett, though he is 92, this man, as we all know, extremely wealthy, and that is what he's known for, what he's been able to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. And so in our current situation, we're talking about and he's talking about in this article, it's not taxed at all. Warren Buffett shares the best investment you can make when battling inflation, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And you know what he said? He said the best thing that you can do to be exceptionally good at something. Mm-hmm. He said, people are going to have some of you work in ways that can produce and exchange for what you deliver. So like what you have, you can position yourself so that you can be set apart from other folks because you are actually an expert at your thing. And that thing is completely inflation proof. You can't take away somebody's skill, knowledge, and ability from them. It makes you competitive. And he said, rather than trying to do a whole bunch of different things, get great at the thing that you have a skill set for, because that is always in demand. The best and highest performing individuals that are dependable and capable, you will continue to be able to find opportunity. But when we are gambling on these 1 in 1.5 million individual opportunities, when education and skill and training has a success rate of 75-80%, you are opting for something that has less a 0.0002% chance over something that has a 75 to 80% chance. And it is honestly because of our value system, which you're talking about in terms of valuing the applause of many and the notoriety out there is more important than the stability and health of just having. We've undervalued what it means to just have a good life. Just a good life. Where you've got people you love, you can take care of yourself, you can put away some for your family. Each generation gets better. You look forward to seeing each other. We do not celebrate just having a good life anymore. Now, if it's not fame, if you don't have 10 million likes, if you don't have 50 million followers, if people aren't chasing you down in the street with cameras, and mind you, all of those people who are living those very big lives, many of them, the young ones, they're dying young.
Come on.
All of them
that's
are
a drop the mic
dying
moment right
young.
there. Yes, they are.
Because you've gotten things that you don't have the substance to be able to handle.
You don't have the capacity.
You don't have the capacity for it. So you're famous for things, and the minute that the people aren't screaming your name, the minute that you find out that your friends are not really your friends, they're just with you for the ride while you can do things for them. That fundamental human thing in all of us to want to be seen and known and loved, that thing that's in all of us, it always ends up showing up that it isn't present in those other spaces.
And throw this on there, the stress of trying to maintain what you believe you created.
Absolutely, because you became your own God in this process. And because you're so flawed, you can't keep it.
Put on top of that, the algorithm that keeps the economist, the lawyer, the doctor, or the tangible careers. Like if you go to NASA and you see, like, NASA's a small city. It takes all kinds of jobs to have NASA right here, NASA Langley Run. So kids never know about those jobs or the many jobs that it takes to have a hospital run. Like, kids don't know about that, but the algorithm will keep those damaged people and their torment right in front of them all day long.
And so here's the challenge. Can our kids, do we name successful Black people who are not athletes or entertainers? Because here's what they see. NBA contracts now are, for the elite players, are approaching $300 million.
That is insane.
Beyonce just finished her tour, and she grossed $594 million, the largest ever by a female. When you're in the hood and you see that, and I'm looking at numbers of salaries and how much people make, and even the average salary in the NBA now is about $8 million, right? So even if I'm on the bench,
doing nothing,
I'm getting $8 million.
Even if I'm in NBA,
it's
still the 1%. But hold on, Tom. So when Aria talks about being exceptional, right, at what you do, if I'm looking at my kid and I think he can be exceptional or she can be exceptional, I'm going to ride that.
Can I tell you something about that? Can I tell you something? The flaw point in that. If you want your kid to be exceptional, you be exceptional.
I know that's right.
Because you should be your kid's first mentor.
You should.
Their first example of excellence. Their first example of morality.
You should.
I know I'm dropping the mic.
But let me also say,
I'm dropping it.
But let me also say,
what?
You're right.
Yeah.
However, it's not just the hood people, man.
No, I'm talking about everybody.
You're right.
No, I'm not talking about the hood people. I'm talking about everybody.
When it comes to expenses.
Yes.
Right? So you even have middle class. that are, and you about to see this, that are looking at college education, for example, can't afford it.
Right.
Right? You look at a private school, $50,000 a year. They can't afford that. Right?
But you can afford a certification.
You can.
You can absolutely get your A+ certification.
Right? So this is
your cloud certification, your security certifications, and all of those jobs are 6 figures.
So if
you don't have to go to college.
But if I know I've been living a lifestyle, right, like you said, the selfish lifestyle has been about me, and now I got a kid, and now my kid's in high school, and now I'm saying, if they want to go to college, I ain't got it. Right? Now we got a problem here, right? And this is where, the financial issues come now, because the only way for my child to go to school is that I'm gonna have to pay. The child's got to pay for it. Now that by the time the child get out of school, they 200 in the hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I know.
So you got a cycle going on here.
I know that student loan thing.
But that's, I guess. See,
but community college is not that expensive.
Of myself as being this exception to the rule. I really never thought of myself as being an exception to the rule. I don't, because what I did, anyone can do. That's why I do so much motivational speaking, because what I did, what my mom did, anyone can do.
Stop. That's it. What your mom did for you.
Right.
But
she positioned me, first of all, by dealing with my thinking.
But that's the point, Tom, of this whole show. Your mom made you do things that perhaps you wouldn't have done if you were in another household.
Absolutely.
So
what about these other
example?
kids?
That's
but
the
she
other
modeled
kids.
what you were talking about.
So other kids don't have a mom like you had, bro. That's why you the exception.
Let's go back to what I was saying before. These parents are trifling, because I keep saying, come on. Because why are you pushing your kid to try to be the next LeBron when you can just, as Marcia said, just show up in school every day? If school is important to you,
it'll be important.
Guess
to your
what?
kid.
It will be important to them. My kid is a straight A student. You know why? Because I stay on that kid on a regular basis about being his best, not making straight A's, just doing your best. If you got, he got I don't want to put his grade out there, but it was a bad grade a couple of years ago. It wasn't a passing grade, and he was really upset because he thought I was going to be upset about him about a bad grade because he knows how I am about school. And I looked at him. I said, "Did you do your best?" And he said, "Yeah, I did my best." I said, "Okay," and I kept on eating.
But here's the point.
It shocked him because he thought it was about the grade.
Right.
No, it was about the effort.
Your effort.
It was about the work ethic. As long as you are putting in a good work ethic, that's what I'm trying to teach you. I'm not trying to teach you the result. Because the results will come. I'm trying to teach you the work ethic, the mindset.
Yes.
You are proving his point now.
You are.
Oh, I know.
Because here it is, Tom. Where people, I think a lot of parents struggle is when I put my kid in sports, right? And I see that they average 20 points a game. That can lead to a financial scholarship. That can lead to a scholarship, right? It may not be that parents understand how my kid makes straight A's. How does that translate into some relief for me financially? Because most parents don't understand how academic scholarships work.
Yeah.
I know how an athletic scholarship works, but I don't know how an academic scholarship works. So even if you tell me to go to school every day and make straight A's, that don't mean that when it comes time for my kid to go to college, that they're going to get a ride.
Sure does.
Like athletics does.
It sure does.
That's why parents are pushing for athletics, because I can see how my kid can get a scholarship.
But if you look at the competitiveness about some of these schools, and then some of this is gonna have to, like, they're gonna have to learn, because when racial affirmative action fell, there's just going to be even more competition for merit-based scholarships.
Yes.
In these areas. So the percentages of athletic scholarships and academic scholarships are going to start looking alike. So whatever they understand about that. But I think what I've been trying to think about, okay, is like, I don't have kids. What can I do? And I keep going back to exposing our students to all of the possibilities.
That's it.
Right? And so it's like, when I walk into a room and they're like, "Oh, we thought a delegate was coming." And like, "Oh, you can be a delegate like that. You can look like that." Right. You can dress like that. You can talk like that. Or, during the summer programs that we have, and I think a lot of schools are starting to do this as well with the academies and things that are coming on. They get to meet people that look exactly like them doing fun, interesting jobs that make good money. Now, I don't know what to do to help somebody understand that $3 million is not going to be your lifetime, your salary.
It's just not.
It's just not. But if you got that good 160,000, like, do you understand how that is different from what you were experiencing right now? Yes. And like at 160,000, and I don't know what it's going to look like with the housing crisis and all, but inevitably at some point, there's an amount of money where you can afford all of your bills, you can afford a nice home, you can afford that good life that you were talking about. And oh, by the way, you can be in, astrophysics, like, these words that these children may never have heard. And so when I was talking to people at like Jefferson Lab, which is right here in Newport News, that is just got a contract to expand and to go into AI. Yes. Like there are these things that are happening within science that right here in Newport News, right, we'll be hiring in, let's say, 5 to 10 years. So let's go into the elementary schools and start telling them, guess what? Did you know that this is what STEM programs and all of these things that are right here in Newport News? But then it's like, I get back to your point. I go to the summer program. We spend 3-4 weeks talking about what they can be, and then they go back home.
They got to go back home.
And the parent is like, well, don't forget to run your laps because you got to be good on the field.
So but I want to get back to the point you made. It comes back down to the motivation. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you're living this selfish lifestyle and then all of a sudden your kid got to go to school or college or whatever, and you're like, well, the kid got to take out $200,000. Well, how about this? Don't go drive that Benz. Come on, don't go drive that Escalade. Go drive something differently so that kid, you can help that kid be positioned for whatever career they may want to do.
That ain't the mindset of black people.
That's the point. But that
sound good.
No, but that's not the mindset. But that's the point I'm making. We can't always cry racism when we won't do our own part in our home to help position our kids. We cannot set our kids up to fail. And we cannot set our kids up to be vulnerable to more institutionalized racism because it is out there. We have to position them to be able to overcome those things by being better, twice as good, by being able to have certain traits or skill sets or whatever they need to be able to compete. You're gonna have to compete. That's just the world we live in. And for somebody to tell their kid that they got to run a bunch of laps because you're looking for them to be your 401k plan, you need to be taken outside and shanked and kicked.
But Ton, again, I go back.
Or mentored.
She's like, there is that.
I want to shake the king first, and then you can mentor them. I shake them, you mentor them. So that's I just don't understand that mindset. I never understood that mindset.
Take your program.
Okay,
you do JCAP program in the summer. You got all these kids, right?
I do,
right? But unless the parents of those kids back up what you are reinforcing, it's gonna be a hole in the bucket. Man.
They can't even get in my program unless the parents are cooperative and a part of the program, because I come along to partner with the parent. I don't come along to parent that kid. That's your job. You laid down and screwed whoever you screwed to get that kid. I'm just keeping it too real.
So Tom,
I'm just saying, I'm there to help you,
Tom,
do your part.
And that's the exact mindset that some parents feel with a coach. I come alongside you to work with you to make my kid a star.
But
I'm just telling you, that's the mindset,
but you can do that on your own time. Like, I have no problem with a parent building or having some type of net outside their house or apartment complex or wherever they live, and they're shooting hoops with their kids, or they're practicing the 3-point shot because of Steph Curry now, or they're practicing free throws because of Shaquille couldn't keep one if he tried. But nonetheless, I don't have a problem with that. That's partnering with the coach. But if you signed your kid up for this program, you should let the coach your kid. Otherwise, choose another program that you're satisfied with the coaching staff, and act like a parent, and don't act like someone who's trying to pimp your kid. Because that's what it comes down to.
That is what it is. That's what that 401k is.
Agreed. We're pimping. But why you pimping your kids?
Because of the reasons Alvian described.
There should be
That's what
reasons.
society has done to most of us.
But that's
the example that you see.
But why would you do it if you don't like it done to you? That's the point. That's why I'm like, at some point we got to grow up. We got to heal.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stop operating through our unaddressed traumas and doing to our kids what someone may have done to us.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, "Am I a pimp? Do I need to go out there and get me a hat like Huggy Bear because I'm pimping my kids?"
The fish in the shoe.
I'm just saying. I'm pimping my kids.
But in all seriousness, a lot of these parents are being pimped by corporations,
Sure.
by all of their jobs, right? So, but I guess more along the same, right? The question would be, how do you come up with the changes you need to make if you've never seen them?
That's the issue.
That is the issue.
Because Tom, let me explain something.
Because you had a mama, you had all of these kinds of things.
You had
so you can't use your example for this one.
And let me take it a step further.
Because they don't.
Let me take you a step further. Even if your mother didn't have it, she had enough sense to know what she did not have.
You know why?
And to push you into place. Why?
Because she got around them church mamas.
I knew that was coming. I knew that's what you were going to say.
Y'all, I feel
knew
a
that was
preach
gonna
on.
say.
She got around them church mamas. Y'all know them church mamas don't play.
I knew
She
that's
got
what you were
around
gonna
them
say.
church mamas, y'all. And them church mamas say, "Come here, baby. Let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to do that. Baby, you smart. You need to go back to school. You need to get off welfare. And you need to go back to school to get your degree because you're smart." And she broke it down to them. She went and got a job. She worked during the day. She went to school at night. And here's the thing. I ain't ever got an issue with public assistance. What I have an issue with is people taking advantage of public assistance. Because it's a temporary fix.
It's a bridge. It's not a destination.
It's a bridge.
You're just supposed to be passing through.
So I ain't got no problem with that because, I
was on it.
As a kid. I was on it as a kid.
And people need it.
Right. So, no, that ain't the thing I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't stay there.
No, I got you.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to stay there.
If I don't know anything else, where am I going?
Okay.
What else am I going to do?
Then you talk about how
What
when you
am
guys,
I gonna be?
Then you say that you guys always are trying to have these programs and you offer these resources, and a lot of times people won't even come.
Correct.
Because it's not something that's attractive to them, or they feel like maybe there's a stigma connected to it. But my thing is this. How desperate do you want to be successful? How desperate is it that you want your kids to be successful? Many of us will give our left arm for our children to have a better life than we had.
Not all of
that's,
them.
that's the point. But that's the problem. That's the problem.
That's the spirit of selfishness that we're talking about.
That's the spirit of selfishness right there.
Because I deal with parents who are threatened by children that are more successful than them.
Yeah.
And I have seen it many times.
That's crazy.
And so much so that I have watched mothers be jealous of more attractive daughters.
Yep.
I have watched mothers have issues with, daughters who they're choosing different kinds of men or different kinds of boys, different kinds of social circles. And the response is always, you think you better than I am.
Or not even choosing a mate because they're focusing on their career and didn't get pregnant as a teen and will have these opportunities and get undermined by the parent.
You think you better than I am. And it is that sickness
sad.
for us.
That is sad.
No, you know what it's called?
Absolutely dysfunctional.
It's generational trauma, man.
I mean,
that's what this is, Ty.
Yeah.
If I was broken and I don't see better and I don't know better, what you think I'm gonna pass on to my kids,
But
man?
it's fine. But at some point, don't you want to know better?
You would hope,
you
but
would
that doesn't-
hope
you would hope, but that doesn't
But I
guarantee
know
it.
what I know.
But I think that's my question too, right? As we discuss generational traumas, as we discuss, I think when we talk about mental health and all that, like statistically, people with actual mental health diagnoses are 3 times more likely to be killed by a firearm than to use a firearm, right?
That is exactly
so, like, they're looking at all of this. I do have a question for you. Where where does like just the straight up existence of evil exist in this conversation too, right? And so like you have this guy who did this thing, and we can come up with all of these like, you know, reasons or whatever, but some folks just got evil in them, right?
No question about it.
And so how do the people listening and watching, like, we expose these generational traumas, how do we fix it?
Right.
And how do, like, is it more of the exposure to different things? Is it more of those that had good lives getting into the, you know, into the trenches and working with folks? What does that look like in the church, or, you know, for what we could be doing?
Well, if you're asking me, I think it's multi-layered, the answer. That's why it hasn't been solved yet, right? Mm-hmm. The root of it, I'm putting my pastor hat on now.
Okay.
The root of it is spiritual. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? It's the heart, it's the heart of man, right? That I would think that in order for me to solve the problem of my kid not getting playing time, the answer is I got to shoot you. That's a heart issue.
Right.
Right. Now, beyond that, there are some other issues, systems and structures that perpetuate how we treat ourselves. That's a whole nother conversation. But I would tell you, this issue is not new. Right. If you talk to referees, if you talk to coaches, if you talk to teachers, if you talk to principals, they all say the same thing. The kids aren't the issue.
Right. Parents are crazy.
It's the parents.
It's the parents.
Yep.
I've been telling you that.
It's the parents. And so when you try to offer resources to parents, they don't show up.
Right.
Because they feel like I'll be embarrassed or ashamed to take advantage of the resources to help.
Yeah.
And then you have some parents who are quietly struggling, who want help. They don't know how to interact with the school system, for example. They don't know how to engage.
Yeah.
So the answer is multi-layered.
It is. And as a matter of fact, you guys have heard my story before, but the reason I became a small business owner was because of that very reason. I was a school counselor. I went to school to get my degree. My bachelor's is in psych. My master's is in school counseling. Technically, it's an MED, but so a master's in education with a focus on school counseling and psychology. And I was planning to live my life as a guidance counselor, but being in the schools, trying to help heal children and send them home to broken adults was the most frustrating experience ever. So to your question about like, what do we have to do? The answer is those of us who have means, we're going to have to get our hands dirty.
Yeah.
Because what I watched work was after I left the school system, because it would have been illegal for me to do so as a school counselor. But after I left the school system, some of you know the story, I actually brought into my home to help raise 2 of my students because their home was so unstable. It gave them an opportunity to see a different reality. Yeah. That is a level of dirty hands that most people aren't willing to do. We like to do, address it and point it out from a distance, but we don't want to do it up close.
Right.
So like it changed our world because to this day, these individuals are now adults themselves. They are now in their 30s. They were only 10 years younger than me at the time. But Matt and I at the time were in our 20s, our late 20s, and they were teens. But they needed stability. And we were fortunate enough to have stability because of education. So we were able to do things. And when they see something different, when you allow for exposures that are different, it changes what is normal. And if you'll even hear people tell stories who are super, super poor, who will say, I didn't even know I was poor. And the reason they didn't know they were poor is because everybody they knew was poor like them. So that just seemed like this is what life looks like until you see that there's something else. There was an interview that was done with Jay-Z forever ago. And he talks about the first time he realized that there could be more in his life is when he went on a school field trip. And in that school field trip, he went to one of his teacher's houses and she had a water and ice maker in her door of a refrigerator. He didn't even know that existed. But because you show children that something else exists, the way a child's mind works is it expands it. The same thing is true when you show them that trauma exists. It opens up their mind to something that they should not have known before. What we're going to be seeing after what's happening in Israel and Gaza, the amount of trauma that these children have seen and been exposed to, we are going to have a whole international generation of folks that view the world in ways that we can't even fathom because of what it is that they watched at mass as children. But we keep acting like that you can expose both positive and negative people to things and not be impacted by them. You are going to be impacted by them. The question is, which impact do you want to have?
Right.
Do we want it to be positive, or are we willing for it to be negative because we rather maintain our comforts than actually make a difference?
But to the point, you brought those kids in. It wasn't just stability. This goes back to my spirit hat. You also showed them love. Right? If you
took them to church.
You can be poor and still be in a household of love.
Absolutely.
Which is what you had.
And you can take them to church because it's
but
free.
When you don't have love and you are poor, and you don't let me in to see all, because that's a whole other show we've done, the secrets that we keep in our families. How you gonna stand that, man? How can you survive that? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it layered down, and so unfortunately, man, I've heard a lot of stories of parents going after referees, parents going after coach. I mean, it's just, and that's going to continue because that's just where we are. But
we have to change.
We got to change.
Yep.
We got to change. We're out of time, y'all. This has been another show on the crew. Leave your comments for us on YouTube or Facebook, wherever it is that you watch the show. And again, I want a t-shirt too. Wherever it is to make t-shirts, I want a you know what I'm saying? Don't just be giving Shank Man a gift.
Don't hate on the brother over here. I keep it real and the people love it. So just don't hate on it.
Yeah.
Don't hate on it.
We out of time. Until next time, be blessed to be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.